What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Today's episode is going to be brought to you by Mystery Ranch, built for the mission. And if you aren't rocking a Mystery Ranch fire pack, well, your back probably hates you. Yeah, that sucks. They make, obviously, the most comfortable, the most well-built, and the best damn fire line packs in the game, hands down, period. But they also make a ton of other stuff, yeah. And since we're getting into the tail end of the season, well, go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check out all of their load-bearing essentials, because it doesn't just stop at fire gear. Yeah, they make everything you can imagine. So if you plan on doing some travel, well, they got a solution for you. But they also are giving back to the community, and that is freaking awesome. So Mystery Ranch has started and is continuing to do the Backbone series. And if you don't know what that is, well, I highly recommend going over to www.mysteryranch.com and checking out the Backbone series. Why? Well, because you can win a grant. Oh, what's this? Yeah. So for those folks, those ladies and gentlemen out there that are going above and beyond for their fire career, well, now's your opportunity to help assist you with these classes and all this training that you might need to have in order to progress your career. So $1,000 scholarships are up for grabs. So go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check out the Backbone series and submit your story. We got a story that's selected to add to the Backbone series. Well, then it's easy as that. You get that $1,000 grant. It's pretty badass. So once again, go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check it out. The Anchor Point Podcast is also going to be brought to you by our premier coffee sponsor, and that is going to be none other than Hot Shot Brewery. It's kick-ass coffee for a kick-ass cause, and a portion of the proceeds will always go back to the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. But they just don't stop at kick-ass coffee for kick-ass causes. Oh yeah, they make a ton of other stuff, like all of the tools of the trade to get your morning started off right, and a huge line, an ever-expanding line of Wildland Firefighter themed apparel and other stuff. They even got some Christmas ornaments coming out. About that time, eh? Holidays. But while you're at it, while you're over there at www.hotshotbrewing.com, go over to the little tab on the front page that says TAPPS. Yeah, it stands for the Anchor Point Podcast. So if you want to help them help support us, yeah, anyways, long story short, Hot Shot Brewery supports the Anchor Point Podcast by slinging some of our exclusive merch. Yeah, so if you are looking to get your hands on one of those Band of Brothers tees or one of the Fire Fiend tees, well, now is your opportunity. So once again, go over to www.hotshotbrewing.com and check it out. The Anchor Point Podcast would like to give a quick little shout out to our buddy Booze over at the ASS Movement. And if you don't know what the ASS Movement stands for, well, it's an acronym. It stands for the Anti-Surface Shitting Movement. And I believe in the cause because, well, I absolutely hate that people disrespect our public lands by not burying their shit. It is disgusting, and that shit needs to stop. So if you want to help spread the good word about burying your turds and get some of the finest poo-burying propaganda in the world, well, now's your chance. Head over to www.thefirewild.com and check out the ASS Movement. And check this out. Listeners to this podcast, they can get 10% off their entire order by using the code AnchorPointAss10 at checkout. Yeah, that's AnchorPointAss10, all one word with the number 10 at the end at checkout. Yeah, 10% off your entire order. So once again, go over to www.thefirewild.com and check out the ASS Movement. And last but not least, the Anchor Point Podcast is going to be brought to you by the Smoky Generation. And if you don't know what that is, well, you should check it out. It's also known as the American Wildfire Experience. But what they specialize in is telling the story of wildland fire. How do they do that? Well, go over to www.wildfireexperience.org and check it out. They have a digital archive, a digital catalog, if you will, of wildland firefighting stories dating back to the 1940s. It's pretty wild. There's a collection of over 200 of them, and now it's an international affair. Stories from all over the world regarding wildland fire. It is freaking epic. Check this out. They're also giving back to the community. They have started the Smoky Generation grants as well. Yeah. So if you are telling the story of wildland fire, if you happen to be a writer, a photographer, a cinematographer, a whoever that's telling the story of wildland fire, well, now's your opportunity. So go over to www wildfireexperience.org and check out the Smoky Generation. Bethany, you have a kick-ass organization over there. Keep it up.
The views and opinions of this podcast do not reflect the views and opinions of the United States government, the Department of the Interior, the Department of Defense, the Department of Agriculture, the United States Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or any private, municipal, county, or state firefighting organization, any law enforcement agency, any medical provider, or any contractor employed by any federal agency.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, we are getting lined up for the wind down of the season, if you will. And yeah, it's fast approaching, but there is always that exception of Santa Ana season down in SoCal. So for those of you folks that are on the line, definitely stay safe. But today on the show, we are definitely going to be talking about just that, the wind down to the season. And yeah, we're going to be talking about how it doesn't matter where you are as far as chain of command in this whole organization or what agency you're with. It doesn't matter if you're a dispatcher, a contractor, a municipal person, a CAL FIRE folks, some of the CAL FIRE folks, or part of a federal agency, federal fire agency. All of these stressors that you've encountered over the season, well, that expands quite large. Everybody's feeling it. And like I said, it doesn't matter what rank or title you hold. So all the way from your GS3 all the way up to your NIFC and Washington office folks, they all experience an immense amount of stress due to fire season. And we're going to talk about just that. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce for the second time my good friend, Mr. Josh Simmons. Welcome to the Anchor Point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Anchor Point Podcast. Today on the show, for the second time, we've got my good friend, Mr. Josh Simmons. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
You know, living life, enjoying. We're going to do some fly fishing tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm just living it up here in Boise, Idaho, man. It's finally cooled off. Nice, cool, brisk day today, man. Sat outside of the patio, cup of coffee. Light jacket on, but oh man, it feels good to be going into the fall.
Oh yeah, man. Leaves are turning. You know, it's nice and brisk, like you're saying. You like sit out on the patio in the morning, enjoy a cup of coffee. This message is off from Hot Shot Brewery. No, I'm just kidding. That guy's a joke. Just kidding. But yeah, man, it's cool. Yeah, I'm just got done finishing up a bunch of honeydew list stuff, like mowing the lawn and fertilizing for winter. And you know, I actually got to winterize my sprinklers for this next week because we're gonna have our first cold snap here in Reno.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, mine were blown out last weekend. I had a vendor come in and they blew them out, shut off everything. So just a couple mowings left and we're into the fall and winter time, man.
Oh, yeah, man. It's coming. Yeah. Did you draw any tags this year?
No, sadly, I have been such a slacker in the hunting world, man. I haven't hunted in years. I keep saying I'm going to do it. And I don't know. I guess I come up with every excuse not to.
Well, hey, at least you didn't spend a bunch of money on like putting in for tags, because I got skunked on every one of them this year, man.
Man, that's not good.
But anyways, enough about this whole crap, man. Let's reintroduce you. And so what do you do, man?
So I work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I'm the operations director for Wildland Fire. So just under the fire director for the operations side of the house. And then my probably during the fire season, and what a lot of people see my name on, if they ever see it, is just I will sit on the National Multi-Agency Coordinating Group. This is my second term as chair, so that ends in December. So obviously my life for the past 4 or 5 months has been interagency coordination, man. And definitely a busy year for sure, as we've seen with 99 days that we were at preparedness level 4 and higher. So quite a wild year for sure.
Oh yeah, they're saying as was it, all right. So correct me if I'm wrong, but since we went into PL5, the earliest we have in the last 10 years this year, and then also we spent a record at PL5 and PL4 or higher, right? It was like 69 days at PL5, and then you said 99 days at PL4 or higher.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if exactly it was a record, but actually, you know what I think it was? I mean, don't quote me on the stats, but I think it was record because I know every day we'd count up and be like, oh, today's day 72, day 75, day 88. And so it was 99 before we made a turn to back to 4 and then down to 3. So
Jesus, man, that's insane. 100 days,
right?
Almost 100 days. Ugh.
Right. Well, and even, the thing with preparedness level 3 too, is people think, well, it's calmed down, and it has obviously, but I mean, at preparedness level 3, I mean, especially when we first ramped into 3, already by then we were already seeing competition for resources between geographic areas, multiple geographic areas, having large fires and potential. So 3 is still pretty active. I mean, it's still a busy time for us for sure across the country.
Oh yeah. Well, that's another thing too, is I know that resources, they're up and down, I guess you could say. And it seems like this year, to me, from the outside looking in, I mean, you have firsthand knowledge of all this stuff, but it seemed like we just didn't have the resources available, like a lack of people. And it was crazy, man.
Yeah, it's hard to, we talked and go round and round on that, man. And it was like, it's hard to define that and say we legitimately had a lower amount of people or resources. It was hard to say that because it's resource availability. I mean, you could talk to a million people and get different answers on what that means. And, we could talk about how many set standard crews you have, hotshot crews, type 2IA crews, all these things, and how many air tankers you have and all these things. But the variables, there's so many variables to really lay down what really was it. And we kept saying shortage on resources, but the shortage we see pretty much every year anyways. It just, timing's a little different. This year is a little more difficult, obviously coming with the pandemic. It made it difficult to really roster up, full crews and things with just the impacts that were occurring. Availability of resources becomes even just another source of, what does that mean? Because that availability could mean we're holding people local or geographic and not making them national, or they're just not up and available at all to fight fire. There's so many variables. It's really hard to pinpoint that whole concept. And it was one that, and every time we talk to different groups, it's like, it's hard to really put numbers with that. It's just you're chasing a moving target every single day.
Oh yeah, man. I could only imagine. I mean, it's definitely a moving target, especially when you have like a lightning bust with already established fires coming through. Now you have emergent incidents on top of, like, say, the Dixie and the Bootleg and all these other fires that are going. It's got to be putting not only the local resource managers, the local managers, but also the national, like NMAC folks like yourself, at a real hard position, because now you have to prioritize fires. And that's got to be something that, one, has to be has to be very, very difficult to justify as far as messaging and like to the public, but also finding these resources and like divvying them up to what makes sense, man. I couldn't even imagine what that's like.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, when I was on a hotshot crew years ago, it's been a while now. So, at that level, it's like, I don't even know how we move. I just know they make the call and we're rolling, we're on the road going somewhere, we're in New Mexico and Arizona and Colorado, all over the country. And you just don't know what it means. And you have no idea what's going on. And you may even be a crew that's stuck at home and you don't know why. And it's like, well, it's probably because you're on pre-position or you're IA for the local zone or your GAC. So, I mean, it's just, there's so many variables when it comes to that stuff. And, once I made it to the regional office level, when I worked in California as a Region 5 for a while, right before it came to NIFC, and spent 13 years there, and I was in the coordinating group, and I started learning what coordination meant, honest coordination. Mm-hmm. And it was like, and at the GAC level, you're prioritizing fires within your geographic area. And prioritization of fires varies so dramatically. And even that can be contentious because you're talking values at risk, threats to the public, communities. There's so many variables that define priority. with fires. And then you go to the national level here, we don't even prioritize fires. We prioritize geographic areas because, you could, and the variables you use for that are so variable because it might be number of fires, acres of fires. It could be just values at risk. It could be threats to communities. It could be airshed impacts. I mean, there's just so many things that define priority. And at this level, being on the NMAC, it's like, wow, it is amazing the stuff you go through. You go from the exhaustion, the mental or the physical exhaustion, fighting fire, hiking mountains, swinging tools, running saws, sleeping in a tent, waking up every day, to the mental exhaustion of making super difficult decisions, because it's almost like there's winners and losers in the game, because
straight up, dude.
Some GAC, right? There's a GAC that's getting the resources where the others aren't, and it's not that we don't want to. It's just you really have a finite set of tools, and you can only do so much, So it becomes a mental exhaustion, and I think that's what defines this past year. In fact, let's probably call it 2 years since this whole pandemic started, was the exhaustion that we all went through, from being a firefighter, being just, pushed hard on the ground every single day. The agency administrators having to make very difficult decisions to do protection on their jurisdiction, to the GACs trying to prioritize and provide resources to their ongoing incidents, and then having to coordinate with us at the national level saying, hey, we need stuff. You need to help us. And we're trying to dig things out, making hard decisions, negotiating with other geographic areas, negotiating with our international partners. So at the national level, we coordinate with multiple other countries to do things, and then in military. So it's like, how do we find this? And then also what became even more unique this year was we had to come up with more strategy on how to utilize the resource we have. And so it's just that mental game we play every single day, first thing in the morning until nighttime, making decisions on moving stuff. And it's definitely a daunting task. That it was an eye opener once you get to it. It's pretty interesting to see. And myself, being in Hot Shots years ago, being an FMO, I thought, I'd never be doing coordination. But once you get into it, it's like, wow, it's amazing how stressful it is. But more importantly, the importance of being able to do that. It's key for us to just do our basic jobs for sure.
Oh yeah, man. I couldn't imagine how complicated it is. And like you said, there's a lot of caveats that go into that. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're coordinating warfare. Just that enemy, if you will, I'm using air quotes here, is Mother Nature, man. And it's going to do what it wants to do at the end of the day. I mean, you can't control the weather. So.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing because when, the meetings we go into, it's funny because it's like, yeah, we're no longer swinging tools. Those of us sitting up here, it's like we're sitting in meeting rooms, or this year we're virtual, right? All on a virtual platform, meeting, talking every day. And so you have all your agency partners and cooperators that we're talking every day. This is what we want to do. Here's the needs. Here's the requests. Here's what we think. Here's what we're futuring. Well, what's the probability of success here versus there? And there's so much that goes into it. And it'd be amazing to just do simple decisions, sometimes become hours and hours of conversation, just trying to make the best decision, because it'll have a significant impact on all the units that are dealing with incidents, including all risk. I mean, we had to balance this stuff with potential of hurricanes coming in and all these stuff. So it's been a wild ride for sure to be able to do that stuff on every single day basis. And being at, almost 100 days, I mean, right under 100 days at 4 and higher. I mean, this is 7 days a week, twice a day stuff, including your regular day job. It was an exhausting year for sure. Not just for, firefighters, but I think everybody involved with all the organizations. I mean, agency administrators, firefighters, fire leadership, it was wearing on every single person for sure.
Oh yeah. Even our cooperators. I mean, they're not like one part of this whole game, whether it be, people up at NMAC or NIFC, all the way down to the boots on the ground and extending to our cooperators. I mean, they're not like insulated from any of the stressors. Like, we're all feeling it. And I think that's the point of this episode. We were talking back and forth And we wanted to come up with like that wind down. Now that we're coming to the end of the season, granted, SoCal is going to probably go into their Santa Ana season here pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about stress, mental health, taking a break, all that stuff. And it's not, it's not something that should be overlooked.
Absolutely. And I think that stress is probably the thing that was the most daunting on everybody this year. Just like a lot of us, that's probably listening here, we're on the social media scene stuff, following Anchor Point podcast and, House Everywhere and all these other places. And then just our friends and buddies that we all see on Instagram. And you see all these pictures from people just being, out on the line, out in instant command teams and stuff, and constant assignments over and over and over. It's the toll it takes on a person really does affect you significantly. I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine who's doing pretty good, and he's on an incident management team, a type 1 team, and he was like, man, he said just the incidents assignments itself, independent of normal work, he spent 4 months in a tent.
Holy shit.
That's just unheard of stuff. I mean, you think of that alone. I mean, some of us sleep good in a tent all the time, but I mean, not always. I mean, it's cold. It's like you're laying in the dirt stuff, but it's like, even just that, you're not getting adequate rest per se, and you're getting up early and having to compete to get a shower and stuff, and then bedding down late. That'll wear out anybody. I mean, none of us are machines. We're all, as cool as we think we are, none of us are machines. We wear down, even machines wear down. I mean, shit, how many crew carriers and engines you see at mechanic shops because you wear out equipment, Oh,
yeah. You gotta change your oil in your car, man. I mean, yeah.
So, the stresses that we all went through, it's the physical stress, it's the mental stress, it's the everything in between. And I'll tell you, from a national level, man, we've seen things that are just like, holy crap, I can't believe this is happening. We got to find a new process to do simple things like logistics, getting equipment to incident command teams and stuff. No shit. It was hard to find just shippers, just people that work
just like logistics,
just basic logistics. I'm sure I heard people say, what's going on with this memo that says, we have to mobilize with 3 days worth of meals. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is just the condition we're in. And so you stack all this stuff on top of it. It's a stressor. It just absolutely stresses you out because you're dealing with stuff that just, shouldn't exist, but it does. And it's the world we're in because of the pandemic and whatever it is that exists out there.
I'm sure it's like got compounding factors in there. You got the pandemic, you've got, all these fires going off at once. I mean, didn't we have like a national hose shortage this year or some crazy shit? Like right from the get-go. Yeah. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, right from the get-go.
Right. We did have a national hose shortage, which is funny too, because we talked about that. I mean, I guess it wasn't funny, but it is now when thinking back at it. And it's like, we couldn't even get hose. We couldn't stock hose at caches. And it was because there was a shortage in the resin that creates the liner of the hose.
Yeah.
And then even like, another thing we had shortages on was batteries. We did not have batteries for repeater systems.
Oh shit. That's not good. That's a safety, that's a safety thing too. That's dangerous potentially.
Right. And I don't know how the wizards and the radio shops kept stuff operating, but it was all kinds of things from every single angle you could find, even down to this goofy too, the stresses you deal with. I remember one day we were having a meeting with the geographic area centers and the coordinating group chairs that just talked about some things. And we were up at the base, the NMAC group, and even just the fire alarms are going off. And so all of a sudden the interruption when you just got everybody on board during a very busy fire season. So having to scramble and try to get somebody the virtual system up and running on their phone, just to everybody sitting around a picnic table trying to hold a meeting and conduct a meeting to talk about important stuff like mobilization of hotshot crews or whatever, it was like, oh my God, you just keep throwing in one thing after another,
Oh yeah, man. Well, I think that's the thing too, is like that's another that's another like stressor that we all encounter out there is the stressor of expectations, right? I mean, for fuck's sakes, man, you met the president. You had to brief the president on a national fire plan. Like, that's got to be stressful in itself, man.
Well, it's funny. It is actually. So when we got notified that the president was going to come, I mean, obviously it was interesting. For one, we've never had a sitting president visit NIFC.
Yeah.
Or even have that kind of conversation with us. So that was cool, and me I guess, I don't know if I was necessarily nervous per se, more excited. And it's like, holy crap, this freaking kid off the res from New Mexico is going to be doing this, and it was kind of neat, and I'm the type of person, I don't ever rehearse a briefing because I have to be just kind of natural.
Yeah.
I guess full of shit's the other word you could use. Just kidding. But, I didn't really worry about it much, but because it was coming and it was such a significant event, we went through days of preparation, rehearsal, all these things. And you had to go through COVID vaccination testing. You had to go through background testing, all these things. That's the stuff that's nerve-wracking.
Secret Service going through and sweeping the bases and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. They were there for days, so it was crazy. But kind of fun, it was kind of one of the kind of cool things is, they wanted to do the backdrop of where the president would be. So they lined up. I don't know if you guys seen the videos or pictures online, but they had a hotshot crew carrier, a couple engines and stuff lined up for him to view. And it's just kind of part of the backdrop. You had the smoke jumper base at Boise here. And kind of cool, fun part is me and my boss, the fire director for BIA, him and I went and washed that crew carrier for Golden Eagles, brand new crew carrier, but it was just dirty from sitting in the parking lot. So that's kind of fun stuff just to do that, and I was laughing saying, man, it has been years since I've washed a crew carrier. And I'll tell you what, I am out of shape, man, trying to wash that thing by hand.
You're up there on a ladder trying to wash this and polish this crew carrier.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I've lost my touch for sure.
Oh man.
But it was cool. I mean, it was actually exciting. We met and I briefed the president on behalf of the NMAC. So just talking about interagency fire and how we do coordination and the importance of it and stuff. And it was a great thing to do. It was nerve-wracking the day of. I mean, I went into the office, went in early because we're not working in the office because it's, a lot of us, some people go in, but it's still pretty max telework because of the pandemic, safety. But you're driving in and all the way up from the airport in Boise and all lined along the road towards NIFC was just protesters, because of the presidential stuff. And that stuff was scary. I mean, I was a little nerve wracking. When you're driving in, it's like, man, I hope somebody just don't bust the window out of my truck.
Well,
or
it's
whatever,
like you have nothing to do with this either. I mean, you're not the president. It's like you're just briefing the guy.
Right. But it was awesome, man. I mean, it's really cool to be able to do that and have that opportunity to brief. I mean, our briefs were fairly short, but the best part was being able to open an open conversation with them for a few minutes and just talk and what's important to us and what do we think and stuff. And that was kind of cool. That was pretty neat. And I'll tell you what, man, it doesn't matter who the president is. It's just the opportunity to brief the commander in chief and be able to speak on behalf of us throughout. They're all just given everything we have every single day. That to me is what's cool.
That's got to be an honor. And like you're saying, man, earlier off record, it doesn't matter if it was, a Republican or a Democrat president, man, it doesn't really matter. You still had the honor and the opportunity to brief the president of the United States. I mean, no matter where your politics line, we are the richest, most powerful country in the entire world, man. That's a big deal.
It is. It was pretty neat. Definitely a unique experience. I'm glad I got to have it. And more important, I'm honored to be able to speak on behalf of all of us and at least try to do something good for the fire community,
Oh yeah, man. And that's the thing too, is like, I was watching the live feed when they were playing that and, everybody was like kind of pissed because they kicked media out of the room or what happened there. They like the live feed cut because they had to go move. I know the president, he's got a schedule, obviously has finite amount of time to brief with you guys, but what happened there if you can talk about it?
Well, the only thing I do know is that they have a transition point. So as you know, they have them on a very tight schedule. So it comes in, X amount of minutes, this, and this, and this, and this. And Secret Service is very strict, which is good. They keep everybody safe, which is a good thing. And so because they have to do transitions from inside the building to outside and stuff, they had to herd the media around to get there. And I guess in between moving media out to set for the outside part of it, I guess somebody bumped the camera off or something happened like that, I guess is what occurred there.
That sucks. I wanted to see what the rest of that conversation looked like, man.
Right. And I know you can go like whitehouse.gov and you can watch the partial video, obviously, before the live feed shut off. But really what we talked about was, the big thing we briefed about was the importance of collaboration and coordination and cooperation among everybody, all the federal agencies, local government, states, county, municipalities, contractors. It takes all of us to do the job. We talked about the importance of being able to work together, and literally that we're striving every single day together as a group, as an entire community, to respond to these fires and respond to threats and stuff to provide that protection is really what was a lot of the conversation. We talked a little bit. We had somebody talk about fire prediction services and the systems that are utilized and potential outlook, looking at, detection systems and stuff like that. And it was kind of a high level briefing, but it was more of showing the importance of what we do, because a lot of people don't understand it, I don't think, because they don't really realize how big the machine is and what the machine actually does.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to this interagency coordination process, and so that's really what we tried to emphasize was the importance for us to continue this day in, day out. We're no longer in fire seasons, we're in fire years. It just transitions from, one side of the country to the other, and then responding, helping all risk stuff. I think it was really our emphasis there, and the importance to continue to get support, whatever that support looks like, from up high, to continue supporting our people every day.
Yeah, man, it's got to be a hard deal. Like you're literally coordinating the largest. I mean, if you're talking interagency, well, even just the Forest Service alone with their fire modules or fire program, you're coordinating the largest professional organized firefighting force in the entire world. Simple as that.
Right.
Man.
And that is true, man. I mean, when you start adding on, we take off our uniform and the color of the striping on the side of our trucks, and you look at all of us put together, what we're doing, it's a very large response. It's a huge organization. We're all brothers and sisters in this organization that are continuing to provide this response every single day. And for a lot of us, man, this is a lifestyle. This is what we do that is in ways is defining of who we are, what we take pride in as individuals, and what we teach, our kids of like, hey, this is the life we live. And so definitely, exciting place to be working in and being involved with, for sure. And it's huge. And you think of, it's not just wildland fire, it's all risk response stuff we do. I mean, we had so many people involved with like the vaccination effort beginning, I think December or whatever it was, and mobilizing people. I mean, we as people, as this organization, we do so much for the world. I mean, for the country at a minimum, not including when we send people to Australia and all this stuff,
Oh yeah, man. It's a thing too, is like a lot of people don't understand the scope of practice, if you will, of a wildland firefighter, or just anybody who's, falling under that IROC listing. If you're listed in there, I mean, you can go anywhere technically, but it's
right.
It's hard to explain to people when they already have a preconceived notion, because when you say you're a wildland firefighter, people automatically jump to the conclusion that you're either a smoke jumper or B, CAL FIRE. There's really no in between. So that communication, right, I think, is important for the general public to explain our mission and what we do.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because, I think it's important that we show that praise and that respect we have for our firefighters, the guys on the ground, putting themselves in the line every single day, fighting fire, our hot shots, our engine crews, our smoke jumpers, overhead. I mean, all these things, we have so many moving parts, but then you add on the support functions of the GAC personnel, the dispatchers. I mean, dispatch centers like California, where I came from before coming to Nipsey, they're 24-hour dispatch centers, Yeah. And you add on the stress that we put people through, and not that we put people through, but ultimately that we take on.
Well, it comes with the territory. Yeah.
We come with the territory. It is an enormous amount of stress and workload. And I know a lot of us do it every single day. It's like mop up. There's things that you hate, like, oh man, we got to freaking mop up today. There's parts of the job that we don't like, but for the most part, it's like we do this because we take pride in who we are and the service that we provide. And that professionalism as an organization that we're providing, it's what comes with it is that stress and that exhaustion and that cumulative exhaustion from going months and months and months and months. I mean, you think about it, we do 14 days, 21 days, 2 days off, and then back out on the ground again. and for some dispatchers and even managers. I mean, basically, like our FMOs or our local unit, just trying to keep coverage and what do we do with an emerging fire? There is so much stress put into our people at every single level, and it comes with the territory. But it's one of those things that, I think this podcast today is awesome about, because it's talking about how do you de-stress as going into the fall. How do we reset the body and the mind? Because you have to, again, it's like machines. We're not machines, but even machines break when they do. They give out, you look at how much stuff is down, and it's every single part of the system is wearing,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's funny. It was funny. Like I was talking to some friends of mine the other day, and I'm like, for about 100 days, if not longer, we've met 7 days a week. And it's like, people think, it's just a meeting. It's like, yeah, but it's the stress of making difficult decisions that, have positive and negative outcomes, and having to manage through stuff. And it's not even just the meetings, it's the constant text messages and phone calls and all these things. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. And, we work in an emergency response organization to where not very often do you get the message of, hey, we caught that fire. It's, hey, we got another one. Hey, we need more air tankers. Hey, there's been an incident. And that stuff wears on anybody,
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's the thing too, is like all levels of this whole organization, that's all fire, right? They have to make on a daily basis. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie GS3 hotshot or engine crew who all the way up to where you're at. The decisions that you make every day have real world consequences, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right. Yeah. And some of those decisions are a lot harder than others, but either way, it's that constant decision making. You think of the mental state you're in. It's like, it's fatigue. You get that fatigue because you're running your mind at crazy levels, just trying to maintain awareness and make forward decisions, and then dealing with the repercussions on the back end too,
Oh yeah. Well, it's not only that, but all those decisions that you're making, that decision fatigue, that mental fatigue combined with the physical fatigue. I mean, I'm pretty sure you get calls at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, just like a hotshot superintendent may get a call at 3:00 in the morning and be like, all right, let's go. It adds up. And now you have those, that's just internal within your career, right? These are just those internal stressors. Now you have all these other external stressors too. You got family, you've got arguably one of the most divisive cultures that I've ever seen. I mean, I've only been on this planet for a short amount of time, but I've never seen people so politically divisive ever. You got that. Right. You've got, all the other little things like my dog died, or my car broke down, or this wedding is happening and I don't know if I'm going to make it. All that stuff adds up.
Right. It does. I mean, the balance of life is difficult, especially, I'm going to personally say, in my personal opinion, that working in this, this career, this lifestyle, wildland fire, it's something we all take pride in and we love. I mean, if we didn't love it, we sure as heck wouldn't spend a lot of our careers in it. I mean, a good friend of mine just retired yesterday after 31 years of service, and it's like, it's a long time to put yourself through some pretty intense situations, but that's the stuff we love, and it defines a lot of things for us. And, but you balancing that, and I don't think there is such a thing as balance per se, because it's difficult for any of us that have been in this environment for quite some time, especially when you start building a family or you have a family. It's hard to balance the response and continuation of fire, even just basic stuff, to balance taking care of your family, finding personal time, finding time to deal with the truck that broke down, all these things. It's like, it is hard to balance that stuff. In fact, like my daughter, she lives with me, and teenager, which that's a lot of fun.
That's a challenge in itself, I bet.
Right. But, and thank God she got her own license, so she can drive herself to school and everything, but she has to deal with it too. So the fatigue that she gets on, and the families receive from this, because they have to deal with us constantly gone. And even if we're home, we're not engaged at home because you're constantly on the phone, you respond to emails, sleeping with your work phone because things going off middle of the night and you have to deal with things. The fatigue is on us as the professionals and our families every single day. I mean, my kid, she'll always tell me, oh, you're always on the phone. She gets frustrated because she doesn't have dad's attention all the time, or go to her basketball games and stuff. And I'm like, I'll be standing outside, I got to take a call. it's a stressor. You know, it's almost impossible to actually balance it all out. It's important to, I will say it is important to try to figure it out, but it is really difficult to do in this line of work. You know, this lifestyle is hard to balance that stuff for sure. And so as an individual, you take that on, your families take it on, you know, it is. And then by the end of the season, well, fire year, I mean, we slow down obviously, but like you said, we got Southern California still going into Santa Ana times and stuff, you know, but we can take a breath for a second. And that's what's important, is trying to find that time to take that breath. You know, I mean, myself personally, you know, I've been mentally exhausted. I mean, this morning was the first time I've ever slept till, like, I pulled myself out of bed at 8:00 this morning. That's the latest I've ever got out of bed, but it's like just finally worn out. And it's even funnier, just the little things that become annoyance because you've been going so hard is, I remember back in the day when I was in the shops in New Mexico, by the end of the fire season, we've turned in our gear and everything. The last thing I wanted to hear was a radio or a cell phone. So I would go 2 months without even carrying a phone or anything. I hated being around them. You just wanted to be disconnected from it, right?
Yeah.
And even now, that's how I am. Because I'm like, man, I literally live with this phone. It is a part of me. And I have to every single day. And you get to that point, and that's like kind of how I feel today. It's like, man, I am so tired of being attached to that phone, hearing it dinging and making noises and stuff. And then, you know, the funny part about this, I was telling a friend about this the other day. I'm like, you know, I love working from home. This virtual environment's amazing because you can balance life a little bit better. But you don't get away from it, man. That desk, that work space, everything's right there at home with you. And it does get wearing. I mean, because you're hearing your computer dinging all the time and stuff. And it's like, it does wear on a person for sure. And I think a lot of us are probably feeling that, I would assume, you know?
Oh yeah. And that's the thing too. I mean, you mentioned the stress of you mentioned something there about dragging work home with you. And that's kind of inevitable. Like, I know I was guilty of it. I'm still guilty of it, even though I'm far removed from fire now. But even you, I mean, you bring work home. I mean, your daughter is pining for your attention and you just can't really do it. And there's a hard separate that is a tall order in and of itself, man. It's got to be hard. But to complicate matters even further is the folks out there that are dual fire relationships. So you have like a husband and a wife, or a spouse or a partner, a couple in fire together. That's got to be wildly difficult, man.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I honestly don't live that, but I could only imagine how difficult that would be. And you know, conversations at home have to be amazing. It's like, well, my crew did this versus yours, you know. I
bet there was a pissing contest somewhere in there.
Right. Bet you're better with a saw than you are. No, but I can understand that would be difficult. And for the kids, I mean, the family that had to live with their parents constantly on the road, moving back and forth, or just the constant go, you know, it's got to be difficult for anybody for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then Grassroots actually just did a survey, this partners and spouses survey. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at those results for some of the updates on the website, but man, it's pretty telling of what gets dragged home. It's pretty amazing, whether they're dual fire or fire and non-fire. Shit, even retirees are in there. It's pretty amazing with some of the responses. And to say that we don't bring it home is an absolute bullshit lie.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I'll go down to downtown Boise and hang out and have a beer at the brewery or whatever with buddies. And you know, we have friends from all over the place, right? But a lot of us have friends that are the same, that work in the same field.
Yeah, you birds of a feather, man. You hang out together.
Right. And so, you know, go down to the brewery and say, hey, let's get some food, let's get a beer. And we're just talking about fire stuff. It consumes the world for sure. And we don't ever just disconnect from it. Probably good too, but we obviously don't, because that's the kind of the connection we all have. Yeah. We all love it too, but it's like, really, it is a stressor. It really is. That's
peer support, man. I mean, what do you got in common? Fire. Okay. Well, let's talk about fire. It's a way to de-stress. But then again, it kind of hinders you, because if you talk to your normie friends, right, your people that are not in fire, your normal ass citizens, they just look at you with a blank stare and you're like, I tried. So it's hard to relate to people outside of fire. It genuinely is.
Right. It is. I mean, that's how I think human nature is. We relate to, and we do things with people that have the similarities as us, honestly,
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're tribal in nature. I mean, at the end of the day, we flock together, we form our tribes, and that's where that fire family thing comes into effect. We hang out with our tribe.
Right. Exactly.
But the big thing here though is I guess talking about these stressors and how we unwind from the season. We're slowing down here. It's mid-October. What do we do, man? I got my own thing that works for me. Fly fishing is one of my things. So as in tomorrow, I'm going with one of my captains. Speaking of hanging out with your tribe, hanging out with one of my former captains and going to go fly fishing. But that's like my thing. That's how I reconnect, de-stress. What do you do?
Well, what do I do right now is mostly just taking care of the kid. But, back in my past life, I used to, when I lived in New Mexico, I was a big time outdoorsman and would go out and just find any reason to be in the hills, cut wood or whatnot. And, over the years, that's changed a little bit. Just moving to California, it became a little more difficult. But, the thing I used to do a lot, I used to be a team roper and I loved it. And that was my thing. Horses, being around the horses, go team roping, go to some jackpots, hang out with some friends, swing some rope. That was a blast. And that was an activity that literally took me away from work. I would just absolutely disengage. I mean, the smell of horses, being around in the dust, the dirt, that to me was fun. Or getting up the hills and pushing cows and stuff, ranching. That was the thing that would always help me reset as a person, my mental state. I don't rope now. I just, I sold my horses and stuff when I moved to Boise. And so it's like, it's a good question. It's like, well, what do you do now? And I'm like, well, hell. But the big thing I like to do is I like to go for a cruise in the hills and just get up in the mountains, go for a drive, sit up on a ridgetop, hang out somewhere and just watch the sun go down or get up early. That's actually my favorite thing to do is just be up early before the sun comes up and sit somewhere and a cup of coffee, go out to Hot Shot Brewing, like their stuff. Cup of coffee and a jet boil, man, the tailgate, and just watch the sun come up.
Oh yeah, man.
And just, that is stuff I like to do today. And those are things that help me reset, even if it's a few minutes. So relaxing and relieving, before you have to get back into the reality, because you get back to the house and think, man, I gotta deal with the kid, I gotta cook and clean, I gotta deal with the dogs, get ready for work again,
Yeah, it's the little things I think that matter the most. I mean, taking time for yourself, making that time for yourself with whatever you like to do, man. And I'm in the same, I guess, camp as you about getting out into nature, man. Like I'm going fly fishing tomorrow morning. The sun's not even going to be up. I'm going to sit there and drink my cup of coffee and watch the sunrise. And then once you get enough light to where I don't trip and fall on my ass down into the river, well, that's my thing, man. That's like your Zen moment, right? And I think it's very important to find those Zen moments. I know a lot of people listening to this, they're going to be outdoorsmen and outdoorswomen. Reconnect with nature where it's not work. You can actually see nature for what it actually is and not have these hazards or have to worry about this, that, X, Y, and Z and the other things. Just get out there and like enjoy it instead of making it work.
Right. That's important. I think grabbing those things that the big things, the small things, whatever little things we can do just to help us reset our mind. I mean, because as much as we have pride in what we do, fighting fire, in that life that we live, we also have the other part of who we are as people. And I think it's important that we grab that time and we do the best, whether it's gardening, beading, sewing, fly fishing, whatever it is. Just take the time and get out, even if it's for an hour, those things that help us reset as a person. Because the work's always going to be there. I mean, literally, you think about it, anybody can go to SoCal here pretty soon, or anybody can go to next spring, just right around the corner. I mean, we're literally just go back into training mode, train, reset, go again. So it's like, take that time, hang out with the kids, the family, hang out with the buddies, just enjoy life and reset, because it's only getting more demanding every single year with everything going on in the world with, fire years and all these things. It's not trending down. We're trending up into longer times, higher demands. I think it's more important time than any to take that time to figure out what do you love, or even just what makes you feel good for a little bit, and just go do that.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's just like the self-awareness test. It's like, well, what actually drives you and motivates you to just relax? which is something
Right.
that, you know, a culture like ours, which is go, 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 go. I mean, you know, I'm, like I said, man, I'm still that kind of person, even though I'm far removed from fire. What calms me down? What helps you recenter? That's the shit that you need to be focusing on. And that's another thing too, is if I were to do it all over again and look back at my fire career, dude, this is the time of year that I'd be taking a vacation. If it doesn't matter if it was 3 days, a week, whatever, I would be utilizing that annual leave. It'd be cool to get it paid out at the end of the year if I was still a seasonal, but you know, I mean, take advantage of it, man. You're trading time for money and you've already expended a fucking ton of time, man. You've worked if you have a 1,000-hour season or a 1,200-hour season, I mean, you're upwards of a year and a half, if not more, a year and 3/4 in a condensed time frame of 8 months. Take advantage of that, man.
Absolutely. Get out and do those things that make you happy. I mean, for us on the federal side, obviously we get the, you know, the annual leave, and I know it's all depending on who you work for, it all varies, but I know like me, I mean, I've got almost 200 hours of use and lose I just have to use. It's like, you know, taking this opportunity. This is stuff in my mind. I'm not the greatest at doing this myself, but it's like, yep, I probably need to take that time off and go visit family, go back to New Mexico, go see my friends and family, hang out. And, you know, the beauty of all those hours work that we do is you got a couple extra dollars in your pocket. Well, might as well, you know, take some time and enjoy it a little bit, you know, ultimately. Enjoy those new tires and lift we put on our trucks that we paid for over the fire season, you know.
There is such thing as hot shot rich, man. You get that end of the season. Well, you want to go do some retail therapy, and typically you buy a hot shot Cadillac, which is a Tacoma with a lift and tires. So
yeah, it's funny you say that because I got the lifted Tundra out in the front, you know.
It's so true, man. But that's another thing too. I mean, it's like, stop. I mean, yeah, if you need a vehicle, obviously get a vehicle that is going to provide you the opportunities to do the things that you love. Obviously, do that. That makes sense, right? But we get into this cycle, at least a lot of people that I know, and even myself included, we get into the cycle of doing retail therapy, of wasting our money on fucking bullshit. Not advised. If I could do it all over again, don't do that.
Yeah, I lived that life for a little bit, but then I had to wisen up after a while, and I've gotten to a point where I personally, honestly, don't spend much money on myself. I'll buy stuff, you know, for a kid or whatever. Just like, I guess my retail therapy this year was not even for me. I bought the kid a car, you know, and so I bought her a nice little car she could drive to school and stuff that's reliable. And so, but it's good, you know. I probably could save some bucks and bought something cheaper, you know, but I was like, but, you know, provide for the kid. But I did learn, you know, and it's hard lessons we all go through, especially when you're young. You just buy. That, you know, freaking Harley sounds great, or, you know, that new rifle sounds awesome. But there's a point where we have to learn, you know, especially for seasonals, it's like you got to balance the books to get through the winter. You know, that way you're not in ramen for the last 2 months, you know, the off season. So yeah, definitely agree, because that's another stressor, man. But paying bills, I don't know about anybody else, but when it's pay period, the last thing I want to do is open the bank app on my phone and start figuring numbers so I know what my bills are and then how much I have extra. You know, it doesn't matter what GS grade you are. I mean, shoot, for me, even like, you know, I work at central office level at NIFC, but I feel like I'm more broke than I was when I was a hotshot, you know.
More money,
so
more problems.
it's right. So it's like, man, you know, it's like, it doesn't go away. There's always those stressors, but, you know, it's, you know, taking the time to do what you need to do to reset and enjoying it, but also just making sure we keep ourselves sane and safe all the way around to get through to the next go round, you know?
Oh, absolutely, man. And that's another thing too, is like another thing that we tend to do when the off season hits is we just go party. It's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, that's like the party hard lifestyle, work hard, play hard lifestyle. We all fall into that. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, it doesn't matter, right? Pump the brakes, because you want to talk about this whole financial stressor thing. Well, yeah, going out and partying with your friends every freaking night, that is a money suck, man. It's horrible. And it's killing you.
Yeah.
Literally killing you.
Well, you know, and it's funny too, because being a dad, you know, I'm at home with the kid, and I personally like to cook and eat at home. But the nights that we decide, let's go out to wherever we go eat, you know, for 2 people to go out and, you know, just food, you're going to be paying $50-$60.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're doing that quite over and over and over, or going out partying, hanging out with the boys, and, you know, drinks at a brewery are $7-8 a glass. It's like, man, that stuff adds up, and your paycheck goes very fast and your savings go very quick.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, it's not healthy either. I mean, it's reality is, physical fitness stuff, and being a little bit older now, it's like it gets harder to stay in shape, man. I mean, things hurt more. It's like as soon as I turned 40, I mean, I was already hurting by then, but I was like, man, 40 hit, and I'm like, holy crap, am I hurting? It's like your knees, everything hurts, and the motivation to get out and exercise gets even harder because it just hurts at that point, you know?
Yeah. Well, things slow down too. I mean, it's not, there's a direct correlation with age and, your T levels. So you don't recover as fast,
Right.
and you're already broken, man. All those past injuries are sneaking up on you like demons, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. But that's another
Absolutely.
thing too. But that's another thing too, though, is like keeping the physical fitness thing in mind. There's, I'm going to be exaggerating here, of course, but there's no greater antidepressant than a little bit of fitness, man. Get a good
Right.
PT on. That's good stuff for you.
Yeah, it's funny, like this whole pandemic stuff, everybody having to quarantine and lockdowns we all went through last year and all this stuff. It's funny, you read the memes like on social media, and it's like, oh, I'm going to get in shape, and everybody gain weight. And, I'm one of those. I mean, I put together a little gym in my garage and stuff just to be able to do something, but it's like, I did put on a little bit of weight too, just like a lot of us. It's actually funny. I had heard from a friend of mine that works in the cash system, and they're talking about shipping, and it's hard to ship because we use a lot of commercial air to ship. And this year it's been even harder to do that because the average American gained 10 to 15 pounds. So when you add up the weight load on a jet, there's not enough for payload to haul equipment.
That allowable is just diminishing.
Which is a funny, right? Which is just a funny thing to deal with. But I'm like, God damn, and it's like, but the days I get out, because right where I live is right off the Oregon Trail, man. And it's like great places to go for a run, or I tease and say I'm going to go for a waddle because I don't know if I necessarily run anymore. It's like slowed down, but it feels great once you get it done. Especially first thing in the morning, go out for a run, work out, do whatever it is that you do for physical fitness. Even just go for a walk to get some air, whatever. Really helps start the day.
Yeah, you don't have to go out there and necessarily kill yourself, but hell, man, any movement's good movement. Just get out there and enjoy it. It doesn't have to be some hardcore PT sesh.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, that's the thing too, is like, that's another stressor we got going on too, is the whole pandemic thing. We're very much still in a pandemic, and there's a lot of uncertainty with the pandemic, particularly with the vax, no vax kind of thing. And I don't really like to talk about it, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely a stressor, and it's on everybody's minds.
It is. It's scary. It's that one thing that's always in the back of our minds, whether we believe that it's there or not, or we've been through it, or whatever our position is in life on it. It is what it is. It's part of it's every day. It's on the news. I personally went through COVID. I got sick January, February, something like that, and it sucked, man. I mean, it kicked my ass. I couldn't breathe. I still have breathing issues from it. It's got long-term effects on breathing. And then, so it just was horrible to go through. So I'm at a point like, I don't want to go through that crap again. It sucks. It's terrible. But more importantly, what sucks even more is when you're in quarantine, it's like, man, I'm locked in my house for 2 weeks. Can't do nothing. Not even run to the store. That sucks. Because it really turns life upside down, And so, but it's those things we all deal with. I mean, just basically right now, I got to deal with like, every day I get the email from the kid's school. They had another positive case, or they had exposure or some stuff. And it's like, man, I don't want my kid to get sick. But even more importantly, is like, what do you do? Because if she gets sick, there's all these ripple effects from it.
Oh, yeah.
So it is one of those things we deal with on an every single day basis for sure right now. And obviously it's one of those highly political situations, which I don't like to talk about very much either. But
same reason why I don't like to talk about it either, man.
Right. But we live with it. It is what it is, whatever our position is and whatever our beliefs are, it's just part of life at this point. And it's something that just wears on everybody, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that whole mask thing, when we all went through the wearing masks forever. Oh, that was a hell of a thing for anybody,
Oh, yeah, man. It's just so strange because it's such a foreign thing. I mean, there's a lot of nuance and complexity with facial expressions, right? It's a communication tool. It's like body language, right? Now you're taking that away. And also on top of that, to complicate matters even more, you're pretty much locked in a prison of your house. That sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully we don't go there again. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, and this reintegrating yourself into what what the average person would perceive as normal life. Well, that shit doesn't apply to us typically. And I think it's important to recognize this fact that we have a lifestyle that dictates that we are constantly on the go, but we also need to like realize that, hey, you know, slowing down is good.
Right. I agree. You know, hard lessons learned as you get a little bit older is like, you can go hard all you want and that's good stuff. I mean, it's fun, you know, until it hurts, but it's harder to recover. And then you're more prone to injury. I mean, I deal with like ligament issues right now, you know, and it's like just overuse from years and years and years of it, trying to think, and you know, obviously I'm like, I'll go in the garage, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go give it hell. Quickly learning, I'm not 20 no more, but on the other side of it, it's like, you know, we go hard all summer, actually for months and months. I mean, from the spring on, dealing with some significant things, and I'll tell you what, man, mental stress is just as wearing as physical on the body.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, and so, and talking to people, a lot of my buddies and friends and family, it's like, it's cumulative stress, cumulative fatigue. And, you know, I'm also myself having to learn how to deal with that myself, of how do you shut down and just take a break? In fact, today I took a nap on the couch. That's abnormal for me.
You can nap? That's amazing. You can nap? I can't nap because I got a 6-month-old.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, my 15-year-old, she's out hanging out with friends. So I was like, I'm at the house to myself. I want to take a nap here. And I don't do that. But it's like, you know, obviously we need that.
Oh, yeah.
And I woke up for a minute and it feels weird because it's just not normal. But I'm like, that's okay. There ain't a damn thing wrong with taking a break, relaxing, you know, just sitting outside drinking a cup of coffee without doing something, you know, that there's nothing wrong with that. I'm learning that. And I think a lot of us could learn from that. It's hard for most of us, obviously, but those of us that do this work, we're just not the sit around type people.
No, we just constantly want to get shit done.
Right. But it feels damn good once you do it. And I'm still learning that for myself too. I'm learning that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to honestly just relax and enjoy what you have around you, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. And that's another thing too, is I've been kind of messing with is, I mean, I'm not in fire anymore, but I've been obviously doing yoga. I mean, that was some stuff that I brought back from fire, but you know, little things that, I wish I'd probably done more of when I was in fire, because it really helps. I mean, meditation, look into alternative things too. Like if you have a workout that kicks your ass, go try a cryo chamber. Try a float tank, dude. All right, I'm going to get on some Joe Rogan shit right here. You want to like do some deep meditation or deep relaxation, go to a float tank, man. It is wild. Have you ever seen those things?
No, I never have.
So imagine a tank of water that's like, it's got like salt water in it, right? So it has the same, it's buoyant enough to keep you afloat to where you're just like floating there in this salt water, but it's the same temperature as your body. So it's 98 degrees and it's soundproof and there's no light in it. It is a trip, man. Oh man, you want to talk about like rewiring your brain and just be like, it's so relaxing. Go try a float tank, man. It's wild.
Well, now you got me intrigued. I think I might have to find one of those and check it out.
Yeah, man. It's just like, think outside of the box though, is what I'm getting at with that whole thing. You know, the yoga, the meditation, the float tank. I mean, try things that are kind of out of the norm. Don't do, you know, go hang out with your friends at a bar and bitch about your job. I mean, it's helpful. You could do that, but it's not always the end all be all. You got to have a multifaceted approach to taking care of yourself, especially when you have the opportunity like now.
Right. Self-care is huge. And I think that's a big thing we can all take away from that is really engage in self-care and reset and, you know, resting the body, resting the mind. You know, we all go hard. We give it hell. We bust our asses at whatever we do, no matter you're a firefighter, a dispatcher, a manager, whatever your job is, you're giving 180% all the time. And self-care, whatever that looks like, just really needs to be emphasized. And that's something I'm learning to do too. You know, I've never been good at it, but learning more and more now how important that is, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That and communication too. Like keep it in check with your homies, man. Keep it in check with your homies. on the crew, neighboring crews, your forest, anybody that you're just your normal friends, your normie friends. Hang out with them, talk to them. You gotta talk to them. You can't just shut down just because, you're going from 100 miles an hour to practically reverse. Yeah.
Right. And that's one nice thing about our community, man, and the fire community for sure is, that's the one thing we all have is it's kind of like a brotherhood. It's like we're all family, brothers and sisters in this. And I mean, I've had people reach out to me like, hey man, you okay? Just simple things like that go a long way. And it's like, at first you're like, yeah, what the hell are you asking me for? But then you sit back later and like, man, it kind of felt good just to be what's up, man? You all right? Versus talk about work stuff. It's like, just check on folks and, hey, what's up, man? Good, definitely a good thing to do. It's part of that mental care we need for one another. And we can all act cool and tough. We all try to, but in reality, we all have that need to just rely on somebody to just help us feel good from time to time,
Oh yeah, man. Once the season ends, I mean, well, just in general, check your ego at the door, man. I mean, we have no place for that anymore. I mean, yeah, there was a generation of firefighters that are, high speed, low drag, don't talk to me about your fucking problems kind of people. But we're evolving past that. And I think it's a good thing because we're taking better care of not only each other, but ourselves.
Right. Absolutely important. And I think that's a big thing for us to emphasize. And when we see and you hear about that a lot of, mental health concerns in the wildland firefighters and stuff. And it's like, well, it's on everybody. Every single one of us deal with that because we're maxed out forever, going hard, and just simple things like that go a long way to help each other out and providing that care we all need. And, a lot of us, again, like you said, checking your ego. It's something that's hard for folks to show because we don't like to show that weakness, but we all have it. We're all human beings, and it's okay to show that. I was, me and a buddy always joke about being fat and slow now. And said, reality. Don't have to act macho anymore. Ain't on the shot.
Oh, that's the thing, though. I mean, it's like we're taking better care of ourselves, and then checking your hubris at the door. I mean, that shit, hubris heals nothing. So just check that shit at the door, man. Talk to each other, keep in contact, and like you were saying earlier, man, like some of the most meaningful things is just like, hey, man, how you doing? When you got that text, yeah, like of course I'm gonna be like in the moment, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck you mean? How you doing? Fine, and then later in retrospect, you'll look back at that and be like, that means a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing. And it's funny because, when you come to the end of the season, the crews, everybody starts shutting down and stuff, and people are going to wherever they're going to go to. You have that physical separation, but maintaining that communication, that text, that, hey, the social media stuff, just keeping that relationship, that friendship, that whatever it is going goes a long way, helps us all just maintain our family because we're all just one large connected family. We joke about agencies, we joke about what crew's better than others or whatever stuff we all joke about, but in all reality we all respect each other, and we all do the same thing and work hard, bust ass, and put in the same service, and we all honestly care. We just like to act cool and it's on the line, but at the end of the day, we're all humans, and it's good to care for one another. And just, it's good stuff. Humor is always fun too. I mean, we see humor all over the place, and humor is a good thing. And joking with everybody, it's just part of it. So that's how we do stuff, and that's good stuff to do.
Oh yeah, man. There's a time and place to take yourself seriously, but also there's also a problem with taking yourself a little bit too seriously, man. Keep shit lighthearted, man, when appropriate.
Right. Well, it's funny because, I at work, obviously when I'm at work, I maintain a very professional style of appearance, you be careful and I take my job serious. I mean, I do maintain professionalism, and I'm very careful about how I communicate, even just simple emails and texts. I'm not short-sighted. I actually am very thorough about what I say and do. And not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying I do strive to push hard to be professional every day. But when I'm not at work, I enjoy just having fun and hanging out and laughing, joking, teasing, harassing, doing the same stuff we all like to do, and talk crap with everybody. I mean, that's who I am as an individual. I'm just a very outgoing person, I guess. And nothing wrong with that. It's just how I am. And, I enjoy having those kind of conversations with people for sure.
Oh yeah, man. And that's the thing, like I said, time and place, right? I mean, it's a little bit
Right.
different when you're at, the NIFC level, but I mean, when you're on the line, you probably shouldn't be playing grab ass if you're the GS4, But yeah, time and place, man. Absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, man, all of these things though that we talked about today on the podcast, I think they're very important. And it's also like that. It's also that time of season to where we're winding down, and we really need to take this stuff into account, right? With that being said, man, do you got any other like tips and tricks or any pieces of advice, words of wisdom, anything profound you want to say to like anybody out there? Because coming from the NIFC level with your experience, it just goes to show that the boots on the ground, whether it's that GS4 all the way up to you, we all experience those stressors and that end of season kind of tension, right? No one in particular is insulated from this. We all experience it in our different ways. So with that being said, man, what kind of advice, if you had one piece of advice to give somebody?
Well, I think, for me, I mean, I look at this stuff, and again, this is just, after looking at my career for years, being a firefighter on a shot crew, being at different levels and working up to here, we're all human beings. It doesn't matter the position we hold every single day and the jobs we do and the titles or the collar brass or whatever it is. We're all human beings, and we all get exhausted. We all get mentally worn out. It happens to every single person, and it's okay to admit it. I mean, we don't have to walk around saying that, saying, "No, I'm screwed up." No, we don't have to do that. But just recognizing ourselves, it's there. I mean, one thing is just having that, in fire, we teach awareness, situational awareness, be aware of your surroundings. Same thing for ourselves as people. Maintain that situational awareness for yourself and recognize those indicators that say, I need a timeout, man. I mean, for me, the one that I keep being reminded of recently is like, you're forgetting 8 million things. And normally I don't forget things. I'm very sharp, but I'm not now. So it's like, okay, that's probably a red flag to show me that I need to slow down and take a break. I'm just beat down, so I think that's an important thing, is maintaining that situational awareness on ourselves and recognizing and accepting, I am tired. I am worn. I think that's important for ourselves, but also telling our buddies, hey man, you look pretty tired. You okay? I think it's okay for us to do that stuff. And then also, it's funny I say this, but, being at all these levels, it's important for us all to have the awareness that whether you're a firefighter, no matter what you do as a firefighter or a dispatcher or a manager or, desk jockey, whatever it is, we've all been in it for a long time. We've all done extreme amount of hours, whether it's mental, physical, whatever it is. We've been in this stuff for a long time this summer, this year, this entire year has been, and we still have Southern California to go. So recognizing that, we're in this together and recognize that we can help each other as needed and support each other as needed, but take those breaks, recognize that it's okay to take a break, and let's do that. Every single person, take that day off, take a few days off. Find those things, like you said, that, those will help the mental reset, the physical reset, and slow down a little bit and just enjoy the ride for a little bit,
Oh, absolutely, man. It doesn't matter if you're a dispatcher, a GS3 or 4, or all the way up to NIFC, or even a cooperator. I mean, our municipal departments that are listening in on this as well. I mean, take the time for yourself, man. Absolutely. I agree with you.
Right. We've all been in it, man. It doesn't matter who you work for, if you're federal, local government, local city, municipality, contractor. We've all been in this. It doesn't matter who's paying us a dollar bill to be there. We've been in it hard. We've been dealing with some extreme things, even the public. I mean, even those that aren't in the fire service and are just part of the community, they have been impacted. You think of communities that have been devastated by fires or smoke. I mean, Boise this year, we really haven't had much for fire around Boise area very much, but just being smoked in for months at a time, that is wearing on people. Your allergies are up. You can't, it's ugly, whatever. But just recognizing that, it's okay for us to slow down, take that break, and realize that we've all been in this and we're all human beings. We all need to just look out for one another, but just, recognizing that it's okay to slow down, take that break, every single person, and having that patience with one another, because we've all dealt with a lot. And I think that's a huge thing to understand.
Oh, absolutely, man. Excellent words of sage advice, man. I always appreciate you being on the show. But with that being said, man, we always give the opportunity per tradition to give a shout out to a homie, hero, mentor. Who do you got for us, man?
Well, there's quite a few, but the one I want to give a shout out to is my buddy Kip Morrill. He was a aviation officer there out of the Pacific Northwest. He just retired. Yesterday was his last day after, I think, 31 years of service, if I didn't butcher that. Just want to give a shout out to him, moving on that new adventure in life. Love seeing those of us that go through our career, kick ass and stuff. And obviously we all do it. And I want to say congratulations, Kip. That's awesome. And now it's maintaining that friendship, and we'll see you down the road in the RVs, man. He's a big RVer, so
hitting that van life.
Congratulations. Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, Josh, thank you for your words of advice, man. And also thank you to exposing what it's like as far as going all the way up to NIFC, man, what it's like in your position. And yeah, it's good words of advice to let people know that no one in particular, no matter what position they're in, we're all subject to the same stressors, man. That's good. I think people need to hear this.
Oh yeah. Great awareness for everybody. It's definitely something that, even I learned. I mean, getting up to this point, it's like, holy crap, I didn't realize being a desk jockey up here is just as stressful as it was, doing other things. It's just a different type of stress is all. But shout out to all of us that have been out through it this entire year. The fire service, no matter who you work for, shout out to everybody for kicking ass, putting up with a lot. And a shout out to the communities for tolerating us and having to deal with the impacts of their homes or communities. So just shout out to everybody for sure for this.
Hell yeah, Josh. Well, man, thank you once again for being on the show. Definitely appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one, dude.
Sounds good.
Right on, guys. Catch you later. And boom. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Anchor Point Podcast is in the books with my good friend, Josh Simmons. Josh, dude, thank you so much for coming by and talking about how things are coordinated over in NMAC and NIFC. Yeah, I know you're pretty high up the chain, but it goes to show all the listeners that you experience a lot of stress over the course of the season. And that sentiment can be reflected across the entirety of the fire service and civilian population as well. Just the general public. We've had a pretty rough season, and we've had 2 of them in a row. So a lot of things to be talked about, and a lot of realities that we need to face as far as a community. Yeah. So with that being said, talk to each other, check in on each other. Stop the drinking to excess. I mean, if you want to have a couple beers or whatever, fine, that's whatever. But watch it, keep an eye out on each other. And yeah, reconnect with nature to where it's not a work mode. This is big things. It's only going to help your mental health. And since it's the wind down to the end of the season, this is the time to be talking about this stuff and being real with each other. So with that being said, take care of yourselves and yeah, do what you need to do to reconnect with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Get it together. This is the hard part. Obviously, we always struggle in the winter, but it doesn't have to be so hard or as bad as long as we learn how to take care of ourselves. So, a little self-awareness and a little bit of situational awareness with your crew and yourself, it's going to go a long ways. So, hope everybody enjoyed the show. And yeah, we got a special shout out to our sponsors. We got Mystery Ranch, makers of the finest, most well-built, most comfortable damn fire packs in the entire fire game, plus a whole bunch of other stuff like the Backbone series. If you want to go check that out, go over to www.mysteryranch.com and check out the Backbone series. We've got Hot Shot Brewery. Kick-ass coffee for a kick-ass cause, and a portion of the proceeds will always go back to the Wildland Firefighter Foundation. So if you want to get your hands on some merch, go over to www.hotshotbrewing.com and check it out. We've got the ass movement, the anti-surface shitting movement. It is the finest in poo-bearing propaganda, and if you want 10% off your entire order site-wide, well, go over to www.thefirewild.com and check out the ass movement and enter the code AnchorPointAss10 for 10% off your order. And last but not least, we've got the Smoky Generation. Bethany, you have a kick-ass organization over there. Keep it up. As for the rest of you, y'all know the drill. Stay safe, stay savage, peace. And for F's sakes, take care of each other. Peace.